What's up, guys? Welcome to the Colin Brandon channel. My name is Colin Brandon. So here we go. Today we're talking about the replacement teams in the NCAA tournament. For those of you who don't know, coronavirus is, it has its effects in the tournament. The tournament was the very first thing to get affected. Only fitting it happens, again, which sucks. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So there are going to be replacement teams. On Selection Sunday, there are going to be 72 teams called. 72. I said that right. 68 will be in the field, and then there will be the last four. So the first four out will then get seeded 1 through 4, or ranked 1 through 4. And those teams, if any team is having a hard time getting to the controlled environment, because it's not a bubble, Indiana is just being called a controlled environment. But if you get there, and if you have any trouble getting there, any coronavirus issues before you get there, your team will be disqualified from the tournament, and one of those 4 teams will be selected. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan 1-16 matchup would be, if that 16 team gets coronavirus, it wouldn't be like they're going to play like Minnesota or another high major team that just barely missed it. That's still good, so that can make a 1-16 upset more likely this year. It doesn't mean that, because if a team with an automatic bid, if it happens to them, so say Manhattan out of the MAAC was going to get that 16 seed, the MAAC picks their own replacement team. So that team's already waiting on deck. But if that happens to any large team, then those will be replaced with the replacements. As long as it's not a conference championship. So it's not like we're going to see, a 15-2, 16-1 be like 2 conference rivals going at it. Like Michigan State, who barely missed the tournament, getting in there and being able to play Ohio State in the first round, a team that they've already beat. Like, that's not going to happen. That's the first thing that happened, or that's the first thing that popped into my mind, though. I was like, oh, a 16-1 upset could be a lot more likely this year. Which would be crazy. I mean, it would have been, I wouldn't necessarily say fun, because it would suck to get rewarded that 1 seed. You've been fighting for it all year, only to have to go play a team that's already beat you. Like Minnesota playing Michigan, or Ohio State playing Michigan State. 2 teams that very likely could be those last 1 through 4 seeds to get the replacement bids, which could be wild. But regardless, but here's what could happen, okay? Is that our 1 seeds, and this goes the entire way, but we could see a tournament where realistically, Gonzaga, Baylor, Ohio State, Michigan all don't make it. Because if they have coronavirus heading into the bubble, they, tough luck. They're going to get replaced with the replacement seed. And that's where it's going to get real weird. It's because even though those teams won their conference championship, those replacement teams are probably, the teams that you would choose to replace them, it's not like it's not like the MAAC, where, Manhattan is, and I'm just saying this for a fact, I don't know who's exactly at the top right now. I know it's not Manhattan, but Manhattan say they have the auto bid. If they can't make it, the next closest is probably still pretty close in skill wise. Whereas if the conference champ from the Big 12, 3 through 4 or 2 through 5 are still making the tournament. So at the bottom of that, the other Big 12 team's still going to be good, but you're going to have a number 1 overall seed that is, TCU or something. And that is just pure example. I don't know if that TCU is not going to be that team. They're probably not going to make the 1 through 4, regardless. So yeah, we could see it crazy where the tournament's not getting reseeded. That bottom line, tournament's not getting reseeded. It's just plugging in those 4 teams. So if the 1 seeds all have trouble getting down there, we could have. Wow, it would just be wild. It'd be wild. It wouldn't affect the first game, of course, but after that, things could get a little hairy. Okay, because the Minnesota is not a 1 seed, but they'd be a 1 seed if in this certain example, and that's not even the strangest part of this situation, is that there's no grace if you can't meet the health requirements to get to Indiana. You're just done. Somebody else has your seed. That's not even the worst part. The worst part is that if you have coronavirus issues while in this controlled environment, which like it's weird they call it a controlled environment because they're not even all being played in Indianapolis. Like the other places are not like crazy far, but I believe over an hour. The majority of the games will be in Indianapolis, Bankers Life, Hinkle, and all those places that they're playing there. But then you got Mackey, and then you got Bloomington at Assembly Hall, which I believe are opposite directions. I don't know. My Indiana geography is not great, but I think that I get the general location of those correct. Yes, so controlled environment is really really strange way of wording it, because there's always some sort of control in every environment, and I just think that they're throwing that rule on, that word on there to make everybody feel better. There's probably all that means that there's probably just going to be like regular testing and stuff like that. Do your best to not associate with general public or whatever, and I mean, they're probably living in that controlled environment right now. So, and they still get coronavirus. Like, they still have issues with it. We've seen that happen a ton of times. I mean, the majority of college basketball games have been played. I heard today that over 4,000 college basketball games have played, and 1,000 have been canceled. Okay, so we've gotten like 80% of the college games have been played, which is phenomenal. And way too many people don't focus on that part. So there's a good chance this goes off without a hitch. Maybe one or two hitches. But here's where it can get real weird. It's that if your team, you are in the tournament, all this replacement stuff is before the tournament actually starts. So if they can't make it to Indianapolis, if they can't make it to Indiana, they have all these issues, they can't go at all. But after the teams are there, replacement period is over, which I don't know about that. Like that's pretty stupid to me, because that means that like if one seeds like your Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor, they can't make it there, or if they make it there and then get coronavirus issues, that game just counts as a loss. So we could see a couple 16-1 upsets without those teams even playing, which is really stupid. And my guess is if something like that happens, it's going to be a Big Ten Ohio State situation where they then alter. It says that they're not going to push anything back. Everything's set. It's just the team that was supposed to play the team with the virus, they just move on, which is absurd. Okay, like the March Madness is the best tournament in all of sports, and some teams might get screwed out of a chance to win because they get coronavirus. Like, let me tell you, you got to factor this into your brackets, people, because yeah, it is wild. And my guess is not going to end like this because the NCAA really screwed themselves with that rule, because it's only going to make them look stupid. And so part of me wonders, I know the NCAA is going to do their own testing, but part of me wonders if they're going to do it kind of like how the NFL did it, because like at the end of the NFL season, nobody's getting coronavirus. At least in my, I heard nothing about it. And so in the NFL, nobody ever came out and said anything. There's speculation that they just stopped kind of, they might have been testing still, but they might have been keeping the numbers a secret. And so with so much at stake here, like, especially for, conferences that don't, like, the WCC needs Gonzaga in because that's how they make a ton of their money. While the WCC might get another team or two in, those teams aren't going to be the ones that make the runs and cash the checks at the end of the season that then get distributed to the entire WCC. It's Gonzaga, and so they have way too much on the line, just like the NFL did, to make sure every game gets played, which they did. And, is that because of the NFL just didn't have coronavirus issues? No, they had their fair share amount of issues, but towards the end of the season, they had, like, no issues. The cancellations were almost zero. And so I kind of wonder if that's what's going to start happening. And for me, I'm cool with it. I don't have issues with the coronavirus. It is what it is. You guys have your own issues with it. I'm not looking to fight about that. But I just feel like that's what's going to happen. That's why in Indiana and not in California, It's because the Indiana rules are lax there. They're even talking about more, like they're loosening up the rules even more. Coincidence that it's right around tournament time? Probably not. They say that there is, but they're just covering it up. That's how it goes. So you know what? I'm looking forward to this tournament. My guess is that there won't be a bunch of issues, and that's probably why the NCAA made the rules so straightforward. Like, yeah, we do have a contingency plan to cover our butts, because if stuff does happen and like those replacement teams are needed, there's going to be some sort of uproar. There's going to be a lot of stuff. There's going to be asterisks thrown left and right. If a 16 beats, like, if Baylor or Michigan goes down to a 16 seed because Baylor and Michigan couldn't go there. Yeah, so this place, they're going to have fans. People are going to be there in this controlled environment that can only be controlled so much. My guess is it goes off without a hitch. I really believe that will happen. If not, you know what? I've been wrong many times before. It's not going to hurt me that much to be wrong once again. It's either that, or if something does happen, they're not going to stick with these rules. It's not going to be like, Michigan, Ohio. Like, if it happens that Michigan, Ohio State, or not Ohio, I'm just saying the ones that we know are going to be sure one seeds, which are Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor. Like, if those teams all have coronavirus issues, they're not just going to have, they're not going to plug teams in. They're not going to just have those three teams losing the first round if they're already down there. Like, I mean, if it comes down to Baylor and Gonzaga getting COVID, like, there's a chance that they might not be able to make it. But we all know that if, like, the Big Ten, like, if Michigan got COVID, like, they're still getting in. The Big Ten relaxes their rules. We saw it with Ohio State. They'll do it again with Michigan. Rules are rules until it screws you out of some money. You know what I'm saying? Like, NCAA, like, you gotta get yourself together. It's like that's why the NCAA, like, if Gonzaga was the only one seed to get it, they probably wouldn't care a whole lot. Gonzaga is, like, that's why they might keep their numbers to themselves. But the NCAA, they're gonna be like, yeah, Gonzaga's not a big money maker. Only the entire, heck, the Pac-12's not money makers. Nobody cares about West Coast basketball. But when it comes to a huge name like Michigan getting coronavirus, my guess is that there's going to be a little collusion between the Big Ten and the NCAA to get them in, because the Michigan fan base is rather large. They've been starved in football for so long that the least they can do, is let them have their basketball. Michigan needs basketball. The world needs healing, and they're not going to let them not make the tournament. So you Michigan fans, rest easy. You got the most powerful forces in the world working for you, and that is the mighty NCAA. We'll see you next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, your mom, your grandma, your coworkers, your therapist. Your therapist might need to know a thing or two about this, because, hey, come March, we all need a therapist. We'll see you guys.